In the heart of a foreign land, a shadow moves where no one dares to look. Beneath the sound of laughter and bells, he walks unseen, calm, precise, unstoppable. No sword, no banner, only a message that can bring kings to their knees. The glimmer of steel flashes once, then silence swallows the streets. By the time the bells begin to ring, the fate of nations is already sealed.
April 1241, Western Poland. The world's most powerful war machine was about to clash with Europe's proudest knights. In 3 days, the myth of European invincibility would crumble forever. The Mongols had come, not as raiders but as conquerors. Their arrival would scar Christendom's memory for centuries. To grasp the scale of this catastrophe, we must first understand who these Mongols truly were. Not savages, but the heirs of Genghis Khan's revolutionary war machine. Their empire stretched from the Pacific to Europe's gates. In just 2 generations, they had conquered half the known world. Every Mongol warrior could ride before he could walk, shoot a bow with deadly accuracy, and survive weeks on mare's milk and dried meat. By 1241, their momentum seemed unstoppable. The cities of Central Asia had fallen, the Islamic kingdoms crushed. Even China's Great Wall had failed to hold them. Now, under Batu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan himself, 3 Tumans, 30,000 warriors, advanced into Europe. They had already devastated Kiev and ravaged Hungary. Their next target, Poland's richest duchy, Silesia. Duke Henry the Pious of Silesia knew what was coming. Desperate messages from the east spoke of fire, slaughter, and cities turned to ash. But Henry would not run. If the Mongols weren't stopped here, Europe itself would burn. He called for aid across Poland, Moravia, and the German states, a desperate plea to all of Christendom. The response was extraordinary. From every corner of Europe came men ready to defend their faith. The Knights Templar arrived, warrior monks forged in the fires of the Crusades. Alongside them came the Teutonic Knights, fresh from northern Crusades, their black crosses gleaming under cold sunlight. Polish nobles gathered their banners, Moravian infantry joined, even miners laid down pickaxes and took up swords. Chroniclers claimed 100,000 stood ready, but modern historians suggest nearer 40,000. Still, it was one of medieval Europe's greatest armies. For comparison, William the Conqueror had taken England with just 10,000 men. The Third Crusade fielded barely 30,000. Against them, perhaps 20,000 Mongols, fewer in number but far more disciplined and faster than any army Europe had seen. The Europeans had numbers, armor, faith, and pride. But the Mongols had something deadlier, genius. Their commanders, Baidar and Kadan, were descendants of Genghis Khan, trained in strategy since childhood. Through spies disguised as merchants, they had studied European tactics for years. They knew every weakness. They knew knights were powerful but slow. Their heavy armor turned them into iron statues once the horses tired. They knew Europeans fought for glory, not coordination, a fatal flaw against the disciplined Mongol machine. And they knew European armies relied on close combat, while the Mongols killed from a distance, long before swords could clash. April 7, 1241. Day 1. The European host advanced from Legnica, their banners shining under morning sun. In the center, the heavy cavalry, chainmail and early plate armor, lances raised like a forest of iron. Their armor was worth more than a village. Their war horses, bred for power, not speed, thundered like drums of God. The infantry followed, Polish spearmen, Moravian crossbowmen, Silesian miners wielding tools as weapons. They sang hymns as they marched, priests blessing weapons, banners rippling, the cross of the Templars, the eagle of Poland. It was Europe's finest hour and its last moment of illusion. Then on the horizon, dust, not of a marching army, but a storm of riders. The first Mongol scouts appeared, small riders on small, ugly horses. The Europeans laughed. They didn't realize they were mocking death itself. The Mongols came within range and fired, arrows soaring far beyond what any European bow could reach. They wheeled their horses and vanished. "Cowards!" shouted the knights. But this was no retreat. It was the opening move of a trap. Wave after wave of horse archers rained death for hours. Arrows struck like rain, relentless, precise, and cold. The Europeans endured, shields raised, faith trembling. But this was no chivalric duel. It was slaughter from afar. By sunset, hundreds lay dead or screaming. The Mongols had lost barely a dozen. All night, Mongol drums echoed through the plains, not for music, but for terror. As dawn broke blood-red, the knights realized the nightmare had only begun. Day 2, April 8, 1241. The morning sun rose over a field of corpses. The knights had not slept. Mongol drums had pounded through the night, breaking their will. Arguments erupted among commanders. The Polish nobles demanded a charge. The Templars swore to hold the line. Every man felt the grip of fear. Duke Henry II knew morale was collapsing. If he didn't act, his army would dissolve before battle resumed. At dawn, Mongol riders appeared again. Same formation, same taunting volleys. Henry made his fatal decision. He ordered Duke Mieszko to charge. 2,000 of Poland's finest thundered forward in blinding glory. The ground shook like an earthquake. Lances lowered. The Mongols turned and fled. Cheers erupted. Too soon. "Press forward," Mieszko shouted. Glory and vengeance drowned caution. They chased the retreating horsemen for miles. But the retreat was a trap, the Mongols' oldest, deadliest trick. As the knights stretched thin, horns blared. From every side, riders appeared like ghosts from the earth. The trap closed. Screams replaced hymns. The flower of Polish chivalry vanished beneath a storm of arrows. Mieszko realized the horror too late. He fought like a lion, slaying foes until 5 arrows pierced his armor. His men formed a desperate circle around his body. They sang death songs before being cut down to the last man. Of 2,000 who rode that morning, fewer than 200 returned. One knight, pierced by 7 arrows, whispered with his last breath, "They are not men." At sunset, a grisly message arrived. Duke Mieszko's severed head, salted and wrapped. The note read, "Tomorrow, you." Day 3, April 9, 1241, the day of annihilation. Henry's council met in panic and despair. Retreat was suicide. The Mongols would hunt them down on open plains. There was only one choice: stand and die as Christians. He chose his ground carefully, a hill near the village of Legnica, bordered by a stream. The Templars and Teutonic Knights held the center. Polish knights guarded the right. The infantry anchored the left. Henry himself led the reserve, the last hope of Christendom. As morning mist lifted, strange shapes appeared on the Mongol side, large bronze pots mounted on wheels. The Europeans stared, confused. Were they cauldrons? Altars? The answer came with fire and smoke. Gunpowder, the first Europe had ever seen. The smoke rolled like fog, choking men and horses alike. Commands vanished in the chaos. Banners disappeared. Units collided blindly in the mist. Then the Mongols' true genius struck. Deception. They shouted in Polish, "Run! All is lost!" Panic spread faster than fire. Men fled, thinking their own commanders had ordered retreat. The left wing collapsed first. The center, the Templars and Teutonic Knights, stood alone, surrounded by confusion. How the Mongols kept formation in that chaos remains a mystery. Drums, horns, or pure mastery, no one knows. Light cavalry struck from flanks, heavy cavalry from the front. Perfect coordination, perfect destruction. The Knights Templar fought to the last man, their Grandmaster pierced by 23 arrows, sword broken in his hand. The Teutonic Knights tried to break out. They smashed through one line, only to meet cavalry waiting beyond. Their armor, once a symbol of strength, became their coffin. Horses collapsed beneath their weight. From the hill, Henry saw his army dissolving. He rode forward, banner high, to rally what remained. For a heartbeat it worked. The knights reformed around him. Then, the arrow came. The shaft pierced the gap in his armor. Henry wavered in the saddle but refused to fall. His guards closed around him, cutting through enemies as Mongols converged from all sides. One by one, his men fell, covering their duke with their bodies until none remained standing. At last, Henry fell, blood pooling on the trampled earth. The heart of Europe stopped beating. The line broke. What was battle became massacre. The plain of Legnica turned into a sea of flight and slaughter. By noon, the army of Christendom was gone. Only silence and crows remained to claim the field. The Battle of Legnica was over. The Mongols stood amid mountains of the dead, their victory complete, their losses almost none. Following custom, the Mongols cut the right ear from every fallen enemy. 9 sacks were filled before sunset. Contemporary accounts speak of 10,000 to 25,000 dead, almost every noble of Silesia slain where he stood. The Templars and Teutonic Knights had been wiped out. Their brotherhoods would take generations to recover. Entire family lines vanished that day. Sons, fathers, uncles, the nobility of Poland erased in a single dawn. Duke Henry was found later, decapitated, his head mounted on a spear and paraded through the streets of Legnica. His mother searched the battlefield for days. She found his body only by his 6-toed left foot. By noon of April 9th, silence fell. Only wind, smoke, and carrion birds remained to testify to Europe's defeat. The Mongols' losses, fewer than 700 men, most from their heavy cavalry. In just 3 days, the most feared warriors of Europe had been annihilated. But for the Mongols, Legnica was more than victory. It was a message to the entire continent. News spread like wildfire. From Krakow to Paris, church bells tolled. Not in triumph, but in terror. In Paris, King Louis IX fortified his city, fearing the Mongols would soon appear on the Seine. In Rome, Pope Gregory IX called for a new crusade, not for the Holy Land, but to defend Europe itself. In the Holy Roman Empire, enemies paused their wars, united briefly by terror of the Eastern Horsemen. Letters from terrified monks described the Mongols as the punishment of God, demons on horseback sent to scourge mankind. One chronicler wrote, "Our knights, proud and strong, were as children before them." The Mongols had exposed the fatal weakness of Europe's proudest weapon, the mounted knight. They proved that courage and faith meant nothing against discipline, speed, and strategy. Legnica marked the end of an era, the twilight of chivalry, and the dawn of modern warfare. But just as Europe braced for total annihilation, fate intervened. In December 1241, far away in Mongolia, the great Khan Ogedei, son of Genghis Khan, suddenly died. By Mongol law, all princes had to return home to elect a new great Khan. Batu Khan, though furious, obeyed tradition. He ordered a withdrawal from Europe. Europe had been spared, not by might, but by Mongol politics. The surviving kings called it divine mercy. Historians call it coincidence. But the lesson was eternal. Europe had glimpsed its own fragility. The Mongols didn't just destroy armies. They destroyed illusions of safety, of supremacy, of divine protection. In the decades that followed, Europe began to change. Slowly, painfully, it learned. Knighthood would never be the same again. Courage alone could no longer win wars. Combined arms replaced blind charges. Archery and early gunpowder became Europe's new hope. Feudal levies gave way to professional armies. Discipline became the new virtue of war. Some historians say Legnica saved Europe by teaching it how to survive the future. 2 centuries later, when the Ottoman Turks marched west, Europe was ready. Gunpowder, discipline, and coordination, lessons first written in Mongol blood, now defended Christendom. The Age of Knights ended at Legnica. The Age of Strategy began. Today, the battlefield is quiet farmland, peaceful, green, and silent. A small monument marks where Duke Henry fell, where Europe learned humility through fire. Every April 9th, reenactors gather here, not to glorify war, but to remember the cost of arrogance. No reenactment can capture that day's horror, the smoke, the screams, the moment when an old world died. The plains of Legnica are quiet now, but beneath the soil lie the bones of 2 worlds, one that fell and one that rose from its ashes. The Mongols had shown that war was not about honor or courage. It was about precision, speed, and adaptation. Europe had fought with pride. The Mongols fought with mathematics. Every arrow fired, every retreat feigned, every drumbeat timed to break an enemy's soul. Nothing was left to chance. In their discipline, Europe saw its future. In its defeat, Europe found rebirth. Out of Legnica's ashes grew the first military schools, the first treatises on strategy, the first whispers of modern warfare. Generals began to study not just bravery, but movement, communication, timing. War was no longer an act of faith. It became a science. But for Mongolia, Legnica was just one chapter in an empire's march that had already redefined the world. Their empire connected continents, from Beijing to Baghdad, Kiev to Karakorum, a network of trade and terror. Yet even the mightiest empires fade. The Mongols who burned cities also brought peace between them. For a time, historians call it the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, a strange age when the world was united by fear and commerce. But Europe never forgot Legnica. It was a warning whispered for centuries, a ghost story told to kings. Parents spoke of the devils on horseback. Priests called them the scourge of God. But beneath the fear was admiration for their discipline, their order, their ruthless clarity of purpose. Legnica was not just a defeat. It was a mirror. It showed Europe what it truly was, and what it had to become. From that mirror emerged a new kind of warrior, not bound by blood or nobility, but by discipline and skill. The old Europe of honor died on that field. The modern Europe of strategy was born. Centuries later, the echo of Mongol hooves still reverberates in every modern military manual. Because Legnica was more than a battle, it was a warning from history: adapt or die. From the ashes of that lesson came innovation, gunpowder, tactics, strategy, discipline. And in every era since, empires have fallen when they forgot it. The Mongols didn't just change maps, they changed mindsets. They proved that knowledge was the ultimate weapon. Not iron, not faith, but understanding. From China's walls to Poland's fields, they carved a single truth into human history. No power is eternal. Every empire rises, believing it cannot fall. Every empire learns otherwise. Legnica's lesson was not just for Europe. It was for all civilizations that mistake tradition for invincibility. It taught mankind that progress is forged not in comfort, but in catastrophe. The Mongols did not just defeat an army, they defeated an idea. The idea that faith alone could protect civilization from change. But change is the one enemy no army can defeat. So the ghosts of Legnica ride still, reminders that arrogance always rides before a fall. To this day, Polish soil whispers their names when the wind crosses the fields of Silesia. The battle is long over, but its echo still shapes how the world fights, builds, and learns. Every generation faces its own Legnica, a moment when old ways collapse before new realities. And those who learn survive. Those who cling to pride perish. The Mongols taught that evolution is the price of survival, that strength is not in armor, but in adaptation, and that no civilization, no matter how great, is ever beyond the reach of its own blindness. The Battle of Legnica lasted 3 days, but its lesson echoes through centuries. Adapt or perish. Centuries have passed, yet the wind over Legnica still carries echoes of that clash. Steel, hooves, and human pride meeting destiny. Time buried the bones, but not the warning they left behind. Every generation believes itself unbreakable until the storm comes. For medieval Europe, that storm rode on small Mongol horses, silent as shadows and swift as thought. For us, the storms take new forms: technology, greed, ignorance, or indifference. But the rule remains the same. Those who refuse to adapt will fall. The Mongols were not demons. They were evolution on horseback. They destroyed empires, yet also connected worlds. Trade, language, and ideas rode in their wake. From their chaos emerged order. From their violence, understanding. Europe rebuilt itself stronger, wiser, and more united because it had seen what disunity could cost. In that sense, the Mongols didn't just invade Europe, they forced it to evolve. Legnica became the crucible where arrogance was burned away and resilience was forged. From that crucible came a Europe ready to face the future, and the future would test it again and again. Each era repeats the same mistake, believing the lessons of history no longer apply. But history never forgets. It waits, patient, merciless, and exact. The ghosts of Legnica whisper the same truth to every age. Strength is temporary, wisdom is eternal. Those who conquer the world by force eventually fall to those who conquer themselves. The Mongols mastered others. The survivors of Legnica learned to master themselves. That was Europe's quiet revenge. Not in battle, but in rebirth. Civilizations fall. Civilizations rise. What endures is the knowledge left behind. And the greatest lesson of all, humility before time. For 3 days in April 1241, the medieval world ended. And from that ending came everything that followed. The Renaissance, the Reformation, the modern mind. Legnica was not just a tragedy, it was a turning point in the story of humanity itself. Because every civilization stands someday where Duke Henry once stood, facing the impossible. And every civilization must choose to evolve or to vanish. That choice is not made in a single battle. It's made every day in every mind that dares to learn. The Mongols forced Europe to look inward, to rebuild from within, not just defend from without. And so their destruction became Europe's awakening. Every scar left by Legnica became a line in the blueprint of progress. In Poland, it is remembered with sorrow, but also with pride. In Mongolia, it is celebrated as one of the greatest tactical victories in history. And in military academies worldwide, it is studied as perfection in planning, deception, and execution. But beyond tactics and triumphs lies a deeper legacy, one of humility before history itself. Because the past does not vanish. It waits beneath our feet, whispering through the soil of forgotten fields. Every step we take in peace today rests upon the graves of those who learned too late. So remember Legnica, not as defeat, but as evolution through catastrophe. 3 days, 3 decisions, 3 lessons that changed the destiny of a continent. In those days, the old world died, and the modern world took its first breath. The Battle of Legnica, 3 days that changed the world forever.